Can you take a gay man and make him straight? Can you actually change homosexual men so that they prefer sex with women over sex with men? And if such things are possible, are they necessarily desirable? After all, who's to say that any person's sexual identity needs correcting? Tonight, John Stossel has a report that you can be sure will have people talking. Are male homosexuals born, or is their desire for men something learned along the way, something that can be changed if you hit the right switch?
You've known you like men since you were very young?
About 5 years old.
This man, disguised here with makeup, says his sexual feelings never bothered him until he turned 13 and learned what they meant.
All of a sudden I found out about sex, and it just, you know, that was it. It's like sex, desire for men, you're a homosexual.
How did you feel about that?
It was devastating.
I didn't see homosexuality as an actual way of acting.
This man, too, just couldn't accept it. It wasn't natural.
Why are you in disguise?
Why am I disguised? Because no one knows that I was ever homosexual, I ever acted out homosexual.
He and all these men hate being gay. They want to change, to go straight, you might put it. And their psychologist, Dr. Joseph Nicolosi, says he can help them go straight. He wrote a book called Reparative Therapy, in which he argues that he can help men give up the homosexual life.
You diminish their wish to be sexual with men. Do they get more interested in women?
Some do. Some do.
I feel, for the first time in my life, 30 years of my life, I feel alive. I feel like I'm a man. I feel like I'm a boy. I feel like I'm a guy.
Everything says you're homosexual and always you will be a homosexual. I came to realize through Dr. Nicolosi that it was a learned thing.
Many psychotherapists are skeptical of Nicolosi's claims. But he is a legitimate therapist, trained at the California School of Professional Psychology. And he's not alone. There are hundreds of psychoanalysts who believe in this kind of therapy.
Do you think homosexuality is wrong?
I don't think it's preferable. I personally, for myself, I cannot see it as equally valid, equally of equal value to heterosexuality.
All his patients wanted their identities concealed because they hoped to pass as straight. Some have even gotten married.
Your wife never knew?
My wife never knew.
He got divorced and tried coming out. He went to gay clubs around Los Angeles, but says he hated the scene.
It's very demeaning to look for sex in gay bars and gay bathhouses. You feel very badly. You feel like dirt. You feel shame.
The pain that I couldn't deal with was that it was an empty lifestyle. I never, no matter who I went out with, received the fulfillment that I needed.
Do you want to get married?
I'd love to. I think that's great.
Why not marry a man?
I don't think getting married to a man is right. A man was made to be with a woman and to raise a family. That's how sex works,
I began to notice the trend that these homosexual men had difficulties with their fathers. An alienation from the father created what I call male gender deficit, which is to say that the male homosexual does not feel solid in his own sense of his own masculinity.
Nicolosi says this happens to boys who, at the crucial age of about 2, have fathers who are unavailable or rejecting.
Then the boy is left with this unfulfilled need to get the male affection or the male identification.
So what do you do about it?
Well, the course of treatment then is to bring these men in an intimate relationship with each other in a non-sexual way, to repair the lack of connectedness that they did not get from their father.
Richard Cohen says it worked for him. As a young man, Cohen was open about being gay.
My parents knew, my brother and sister knew. I never hid it. I had a lover in college for 3 years, and he used to come home on family visits. So I was pretty out there.
But he never liked being gay. When he was 30, he married Jae Suk, who just moved here from Korea, telling her he'd once been gay, but now he was straight. They had children, and the family has stayed together. But it hasn't been easy.
Like a lot of men think, well, just get married and it's all going to go away, So I repressed my homosexual desires. And I thought marriage would be the solution. But I found out it wasn't.
What happened?
It was like the kingdom of hell. It was like the pits of the pits.
He withdrew from Jay Suk, or his attachment to men, tried Nicolosi's reparative therapy. He found a friend to act as a father figure.
And he was straight. And he wasn't afraid to touch me.
Nicolosi says that the friend gave Richard what he didn't get from his father.
I needed Daddy to hold me while I cried and cried and cried and screamed and hollered. And this man committed himself to me in that way. And with his love, I broke through.
His hugging you enabled you to be a straight man.
My compulsive desire for a man went away.
Jesuk, is he a husband?
Yes.
What did you think when he was turning away from you, saying, I need a man?
It was, as he said, it was such a hell. And I cried a lot.
And now, is sexuality an important part of your marriage?
We're having a child soon, our third.
Well, most anybody can have children. That
Right.
doesn't mean much.
But yes, we have good sex, if that's what you're asking.
You're interested in...
Yes, having sex with my wife, and not with a man.
He's delighted with the change, so who could argue with this? Well, most anyone you talk to at this gay bar in New York City. Tell people here about Nicolosi's theories, and the reaction is anger.
I'm here to say I never had a suffocating mother, never had a suffocating father. I have a suffocating society. I have suffocating religion. I'm not ashamed of who I am. And anybody that keeps trying to change me is just going to come up a brick wall.
Can they also change you from straight to homosexual?
Yeah.
If your therapist can do that, then the reverse would be true, but I don't think they can do that.
Right.
Presumably fewer people would want that. It's easier to be straight in America.
Easier for who? Unfortunately, you're right, but it's sad.
For years, psychologists have been trying to cure homosexuals. Some would show them pictures of naked men and then give them electric shocks. Earlier this century, castration was considered a viable therapy. Today, the official position of the American Psychiatric Association is that there's no need for a cure because homosexuality is not a disease. It's simply a way a minority of people express their sexuality. Dr. Richard Isay, who chairs the APA's Committee on Gay Issues, says the correct role for a psychiatrist is to help a gay man become a happy gay man.
Help him accept it. Just say you are gay.
Not only accept it, but to express it.
But this is what Nicolosi's patients say they want. They don't want to be gay. And they say he's helping them.
I pick up the pieces of these patients who have been to Dr. Nicolosi or others like Dr. Nicolosi, and it can be tragic. These men come back to me, whether it be in 6 months or 1 year or 2 years, anxious, depressed, feeling separate from other people, feeling they have no passion left in their life, and in some circumstances, particularly when they have been compliant enough to get married and to have children, acutely suicidal.
Far better, says Isay, is to do what his patient Chuck Davis did. Make the most of life as you are. Chuck and his friend Buddy Dickman have been living together as if they were married for 7 years.
Well, we met in the elevator. I'm going up to the party.
And got together a week later for a date. So it was all very old-fashioned.
Chuck is a psychiatrist who works with people who have AIDS.
I spent a lot of years suppressing my feelings and trying to be something different than I was, and it was awful. I think that's where the biggest pain of being gay is the time before you learn to accept yourself.
Buddy runs his own accounting firm.
I dated women in high school and in college, but it was all a farce. I didn't have a choice to become straight or become gay or what I am. And that's it. And I don't think my father was overly distant or my mother overly suffocating. We don't fit into any of those stereotypes.
You're taught from the time you're born that it's a terrible thing. If people could snap their fingers and change, the people would. So that kind of therapy is probably very appealing.
Central to the debate about claims of changing sexual orientation is the question, is homosexuality born or bred? If it's bred, if you become gay because of something your parents did or didn't do, then it's logical for Nicolosi to say you can change it back. The scientific research on this is inconclusive. A recent study found brain differences between gay and straight men. But that doesn't mean the difference caused the homosexuality. Could be that homosexual behavior causes a difference in the brain. Studies on twins suggest a genetic cause. Identical twins are much more likely to both be gay than non-identical pairs. But if homosexuality is inherited, then why aren't all identical twins either both gay or both straight? Still, scientists say the bulk of evidence suggests a biological cause. Perhaps most convincing is that anthropologists have found homosexuality in most every culture, modern and ancient. And biologists have found it in animals. One study showed 14% of the gulls here in Santa Barbara are lesbian. If homosexuality is just part of nature, something you're born with, that would help explain something that surprised us in the course of meeting Dr. Nicolosi's patients. Even the people that Nicolosi cited as success stories are not all that successful.
How much better have you gotten? What's different?
I'll still look at people going down the street. That hasn't completely gone away, and I don't know if it ever will.
I don't want to mislead you. I haven't gotten over. I still have some attractions to males. And to say that I don't would be totally lying on my part.
Behavior can be changed by all sorts of means, including psychotherapy, psychoanalysis, behavior modification, but the core orientation in a gay man cannot be changed.
A lot of psychologists say this is unethical. You're ripping people off. The people aren't cured. Many of them feel a little better, but they still want men.
Not necessarily. The attraction for men diminishes. That's the point. That's what these men want. They are distressed by their homosexual feelings, and I can help them diminish that. And they have a right to seek that kind of therapy, to pay the money for it, and I'm there to help them.
You're straight.
I would be lying to you if I said, like, it's all gone and all wiped away. There are traces of it there, and times attractions.
Some people would say he's still gay.
Of course.
That no one has ever been cured.
Of course. But look at the bind that happens. You have a man who says, I am cured, I no longer have homosexual feelings, I'm married, I love my wife, I love my kids, I'm doing fine. 5 years later, he has a fall. He has a homosexual contact. So what? It's a trade-off, and these men are willing to pay that price.
Most gays we said that to said, why should we have to pay any price? And why don't you straights just leave us alone?
They're treating it like a disease. What is it cured for? A disease. This is not a disease. And if people just backed off, let people live as they want to live, people wouldn't feel like there's something wrong, and they wouldn't go to this man, give their money, and this guy wouldn't rip them off. There's no such thing as a cure.
John, in view of the fact that there has not been a society in which there wasn't some homosexuality, and the fact that homosexuals come from all different environments, how does the doctor answer that?
I asked him that, and he said in those cases, too, those men had rejecting or unavailable fathers.
Throughout the years, they all had...
Throughout the years. And I also would like to add that clearly this is a minority belief. Most therapists don't believe this, and the American Psychological Association and the American Psychiatric Association both say that homosexuality is not a disease. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you, and therefore there's nothing that needs to be cured.
You know, we're still talking about prejudice, and I wondered if it ever was proven that it was biological, if there would be less prejudice.
I would think there would be.
This is hardly going to be the last time that society is going to be examining this very important question. We'll be right back.